Welcome back to Trust Me, I'm an Idiot. In today's episode, we're going to turn one of these liftgate supports into one of these. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, what you plan and what takes place ain't ever exactly been similar.
See if this will work. Also, there's some electrical tape on it to hopefully keep it from scratching the paint up too bad. There it goes, and of course, it's falling on me now. So, a lot easier if you have a second person. Just smack it into place. Cool. Do that again on the other side. We're done. This is a forge that I ordered from Lithuania, and it's a kit, so you have to assemble it yourself. The most important step of which is the paint-on refractory to cover the fibrous insulation, which otherwise will give you cancer. We're all set to go. Built a little stand for it, used some tile to hopefully protect the wood from the flames, as I don't have a welder, so I can't build a metal cart. All of the factory is dry, so the cancer fibers are sealed inside. Got the regulator hooked up to the propane tank. Now, following the instructions that came with, it's like we have to close the choke, turn these up the top. Let's see, close the choke to open the gas tank, screw the pressure regulator, to get the gas flow from the forge, and then fire it up. Careful when firing the forge. Yeah. So, tank is open. Lit. That is very lit. Turn that down. Fire! Alright. Take a look here. Running nicely. Now this of course took a while to actually heat up, but ready to forge. So I've heated the bar a couple times. It's getting pretty flat, but I've noticed it's kind of getting a lot longer and not wider as much as I'd like to. And the anvil kind of has a curve this way, and I've been hitting it lengthwise. So I think that curve may be encouraging the metal to lengthen rather than width. So I'm going to try rotating the piece, hitting it this way, see if that makes any difference or helps at all. Ready for another beat? More heat. So let's talk about tools for a second. I'm using pretty much a cheap sledgehammer 3-pounder from my local big box hardware store. I think I ran like $10, and just a locking pair of pliers, basically. And that's pretty much it. Now, if I had real blacksmith's tongs and everything else, that'd be great. But these are tools I already had. They're working pretty well. They're not ideal, of course, but again, getting started. Let's use what we have, see how it works, learn, see if we like it, keep going. So all in, I think it's about $200 for this whole setup. And obviously, you can build forges cheaper than that. Find cheaper anvils. You know, there's a listing for basically a piece of I-beam locally for about $20. And if you already got the tools laying around, maybe you've got a bench vise or something, it's even cheaper to get started. All right, that round bar is now flat, pretty straight. Now, it definitely is thick and long. This won't be a traditional sax by any means. It more be like a paring knife sax or something like that. But still a fun first project. So I'm going to do some heat cycles on this to kind of, I think I'm supposed to do that to relieve the stress, heat it up, let it cool down slowly a few times, let everything sort of settle, and then we'll bring it downstairs and start filing and grinding on it. Alright, so now as I grind, I'm going to check with this straight edge to make sure I'm getting it mostly straight. A little bit of a taper from about here, the end of the grip will be, down to the top of the tip there. So, small knife blade, but be a nice big handle for big hands like mine. Let's get to it. So yeah, I changed my mind. The sides are not terribly flat, so let's see if we can flatten those out a little bit first. Yeah, I tried to use a Sharpie to kind of make a line that I could then scratch a line through, so I could have something nice and even and straight to grind to. But it's not really scribing very well. So I got this marking fluid, and we'll give that a whirl. Start grinding in our bevels. I'm just going to do a real rough, shallow grind just to get everything sort of started. I don't want to take away too much material because then when I go and do the quench to harden the blade, if it's too thin, I might get warps. Might be hard to heat it evenly, that sort of thing. So we're just going to kind of essentially establish the bevels and get them kind of set to where I want them, and then we'll do the heat treat. this up until it loses its ability to be magnetized, affected by this magnet, then we'll quench. Okay, I've got my oven set for 375. Put the blade in a little cake pan to temper. And while the oven's on, might as well bake some cookies at the same time. Alright, now time to sand the blade, polish it smooth, hopefully get it a little flatter and make it look good. After a lot of sanding, we're at 180 grit. This is the finish I've got. It's not perfect, but pretty good. I'm not going to get perfect on this project anyway, so we'll get good enough. We'll bring that grit up higher afterwards, but for now I think I'm going to start putting the handle on. For that I've got this lovely ebony out of Madagascar, and we're going to apply that with some pins. I've got this hollow tube, so we can have a lanyard going through this as well, and brass pins, and then this System 3 two-part epoxy to secure it all. Half round, or whatever kind of file this is, to smooth out the rough edges from the grinder. Alright, well, now it's not perfect. I think I'm happy where that is. So now time to tape up the blade, put a finish on the handle, and then sharpen it. That's it. Knife is done. Works out pretty well. I've used it as a dinner knife a couple times. Mainly just have it hanging up here as a utility knife for opening packages or cutting things like that. It was a very informative learning process. First knife I've ever made. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.